$20.7 billion. That's the projection for the global biomedical textiles market by 2027. I mean, that's a huge number. Billions in growth.
It really is. It signals this fascinating convergence, doesn't it? Fabric and healing coming together.
Yeah, we're definitely moving past thinking of textiles as just, clothes or bedding.
Absolutely. These materials are now being meticulously engineered. They interact with our bodies biologically, offering some really exciting therapeutic possibilities.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at a recent review article that really unpacks this whole world of biotextiles in medicine.
Yeah, we're aiming to pull out the most compelling insights for you.
So, first off, what is a biotextile exactly?
Well, at its core, it's a medical device. It's designed to have a functional relationship with living tissues. But the really groundbreaking part is the customization.
Customization? How so?
You can tailor the material's properties, its structure, its chemistry to address very specific medical needs. It's not one size fits all.
Wow. So textiles becoming these highly specialized medical tools. It's kind of mind-bending when you think about it.
That is.
So our goal here is to give you a clear, sort of concise understanding of the crucial role these biotextiles are playing. Cut through the jargon, maybe reveal some surprising facts.
Definitely. And we'll focus on three main areas: drug delivery systems, DDS medical implants, and also regenerative medicine. That should give a good overview.
Okay, let's start with drug delivery systems then. You said DDS. This is a massive field.
Huge. Projected to hit almost $100 billion by 2032. Growing fast, nearly 10% a year.
That's incredible growth. Driven by what? Just better ways to get drugs where they need to go?
Essentially, yes. DDS technologies are all about transporting drugs into or through the body more effectively, and the ingenuity in how they're administered is really striking.
The review mentions quite a list. Buccal, sublingual. What are those?
Yeah.
Inside the cheek, under the tongue.
Exactly. And vaginal, rectal, nasal, ocular, so eyes and gastrointestinal routes too. It just shows the versatility, the precision we can aim for now.
And nanoparticles play a big role in that precision, don't they?
A massive role. Their evolution has significantly enhanced DDS. The review mentions a table showing this development from like 1991 to 2022. Lots of different nanoparticles for various diseases. It's decades of innovation, really.
Right, and you get these really specific examples like mifepristone-loaded nanoparticles designed to target cancer cells.
Yes, specifically to inhibit metastasis, the spread of cancer. That kind of targeted action is, well, it's remarkable.
And this is where biotextiles really shine in DDS.
Precisely. The goal is to maximize the drug's effect while minimizing those unwanted side effects. Think about an antibacterial ointment directly on a wound versus a pill that affects your whole system.
Localized action. Makes sense. The review had some cool examples of this.
It did, like those polyurethane hydroxypropyl cellulose nanofibers for delivering dunpezil hydrochloride through the skin.
Yeah, the Alzheimer's drug, right? And they applied it without irritation. That's huge for patients.
Absolutely. Compliance is key. Another one was that gastroretentive system for metronidazole.
The floating raft thing, to target H. pylori in the stomach.
Exactly. It stays in stomach longer, making the drug more effective against those ulcer-causing bacteria. Potentially better outcomes, easier for patients.
And there was one for acetaminophen too, right? Using electrospun nanofibers.
Yes, those nanofiber-based solid dispersions, they found it dramatically improved how fast the acetaminophen dissolved compared to, say, a normal pill.
So potentially much faster pain relief. That's something people would notice.
Definitely. And looking at the research trends, a lot focuses on either refining those administration routes we talked about or developing better delivery vehicles.
The how versus the where.
Kind of. And the review suggests that delivery vehicles, which includes biotextiles, that's where there's maybe even more potential for future breakthroughs.
Interesting. So the carriers are becoming just as important as the drug itself, in a way. What about the history? How did we get here with fibers and DDS?
Well, it's been a sort of three-stage process. Started very basic, like herbal remedies and simple cloth bags, natural fibers.
Okay.
Then came synthetic fibers, used in things like wound dressings, more functional.
Right.
And now we're in this advanced era. Technologies like electrospinning allow us to create sophisticated biotextiles that can even treat systemic diseases.
And these drug-embedded fibers, they have specific advantages.
You do. Production can be pretty straightforward. They offer a massive surface area for drug release, which is crucial.
How massive?
Well, these electrospun nanofibers, they're tiny, 50 to 500 nanometers thick. But their surface area can be incredible, potentially up to 1,000 square meters per gram for a 100 nanometer fiber.
Wow, 1,000 square meters in a gram. That's hard to even picture.
It is. And that huge surface area is key for loading enough drug and controlling its release effectively. Plus, they have good porosity and mechanical properties.
Porosity meaning tiny holes.
Yes, helps with drug release and cells interacting with the material. And they need to be strong enough for medical use.
Okay, so how do you actually get the drug into the textile? Are there different ways?
Yeah, broadly, two main approaches. You can treat the surface of the finished fiber or fabric, maybe coating it, or you incorporate the drug right into the material during the manufacturing process, like mixing it into the polymer solution before spinning.
And is one better?
Often, incorporating it within the fabric is preferred. It usually gives you a more controlled, sustained release over time.
Which is generally what you want.
Usually, yes.
And the applications vary depending on the fabric type, like woven versus non-woven.
Exactly. Woven fabrics, where you can absorb, coat, encapsulate, or even chemically bond drugs, are used for lots of things. Bioactive bandages, artificial skin grafts, wound dressings, even aromatherapy or antimicrobial textiles.
Okay, and non-woven.
With non-wovens, the focus is often more on encapsulation within the structure. They're really good for that controlled, sustained release we talked about.
Right, and then there were the electrospun ones specifically.
Yes, non-woven electrospun fabrics. Because you can integrate drugs during spinning, or coat them, encapsulate, or use bioconjugation, linking them chemically. They're being explored for really cutting-edge stuff. Tumor treatment scaffolds, tissue engineering.
Tissue engineering.
Yeah.
We'll definitely come back to that. But I also saw something about a hydrogel patch. A composite.
Ah, yes, the adhesive hydrogel patch for dexamethasone for treating atopic dermatitis, like eczema.
What was clever about that one?
They used tiny silica nanoparticles within the hydrogel. This acted like a regulator, controlling the release of the dexamethasone over a longer period compared to just mixing it in, showed real promise for inflammatory skin conditions.
So it's not just about the fiber, but combining materials smartly.
Absolutely. And it's not just drug delivery either. Biotextiles are getting into health monitoring too.
Like wearables.
Exactly. Things like textile triboelectric nanogenerators,
TENS, what do they do?
They're basically electronic components woven into the fabric that can generate their own power from movement.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like just from walking around?
Yeah, and that power can run sensors for real-time personalized monitoring, heart rate, pulse wave velocity, blood pressure, integrated right into your clothes.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely futuristic. But we shouldn't forget the more established uses too, right? Like compression stockings.
Definitely not. Therapeutic compression for chronic venous insufficiency is critical for many people, and advanced drug-releasing dressings for ulcers, these are vital applications.
Sometimes the simpler things have a huge impact. And of course, there are common commercial things people know, like nicotine patches.
Right, the transdermal patch delivering a constant dose. And actually, a more recent booming product is nicotine pouches.
Oh yeah, those seem to be everywhere now. Are they considered textiles?
Well, they're not woven fabric, but they are a textile-based product, mostly water and microcrystalline cellulose. Placed between lip and gum, demand has really surged.
Interesting range. And what about some more sort of advanced research examples? You mentioned nerve cells.
Yes, vitamin B5-loaded nanofibers designed to encourage Schwann cell proliferation. Schwann cells help nerves repair. These fibers had a hydrophilic water-attracting surface and sustained release, creating a good environment for those cells.
Okay. And bone regeneration.
There are fibrous scaffolds made from PLLA and gelatin, loaded with simvastatin, a bone growth-promoting drug. They improved the scaffold coating with something called beta-cyclodextrin, which helps load more drug and significantly improved bone cell growth and differentiation. Real potential for tissue engineering there.
Even for eyes. Delivering drugs to the eye seems tricky.
It is, but they're exploring cross-linked hyaluronan electrospun nanofibers. These were loaded with ferulic acid, an antioxidant, and interestingly, they also added an antimicrobial peptide, so dual action.
Did they work?
The dimensions, the drug loading, the release profiles, they all looked promising for ocular applications.
And acne. Something more common.
Tretinoin-loaded nanofibers for topical treatment. The idea is sustained release, better stability under refrigeration, maybe even on-demand delivery. Could be more effective and convenient.
It really feels like this field is moving incredibly fast. What are the big future trends or challenges the review highlighted?
Well, combining multiple functions in one textile is a challenge. Also, efficiently loading enough drug, especially delicate drugs or ones that don't dissolve easily in water.
And understanding the interactions
Yeah.
between the drug and the polymer.
Crucial. We need better understanding and also better mathematical models to predict how the drug will actually release. That helps design them more precisely. Applying them in complex areas like tissue engineering also presents hurdles.
So, looking ahead, more synergy between techniques.
Yeah, expect more integration of electrospinning with nanotechnology and rapid prototyping, like 3D printing, using additive manufacturing to create totally new biomaterials and more complex customized devices.
And intelligent systems, what does that mean?
Using novel materials, biodegradable polymers, dendrimers, electroactive polymers, environment-sensitive hydrogels that can respond to conditions in the body, like releasing a drug only when a certain temperature or pH is reached, more personalized, more responsive.
So really fine-tuning the delivery.
Exactly. We need to nail down the fundamentals. Fiber shapes, maximizing drug load, controlling release rates precisely, understanding those drug-polymer interactions, the release mechanisms, and having reliable prediction models.
And the market growth we mentioned earlier just fuels this.
Undoubtedly. The expanding market, the focus on next-gen medicines, better understanding of biological environments, it all drives innovation in biotextiles. Nanofabrication will be key for creating optimal structures with controlled release.
So biotextiles is building blocks for tissue scaffolds too.
Increasingly, scaffolds with controlled microarchitecture and drug release built right in. The investment in this area is huge, and it benefits related fields too, like wearable electronics, implantable sensors.
It all comes back to understanding the materials, right? How they interact with biomolecules, cells, tissues.
That's the foundation for unlocking their full potential, absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears then. Let's talk about medical implants and regenerative medicine using these biotextiles.
Yeah.
You mentioned natural polymers have a long history here.
A very long history. Materials like cotton and silk used for centuries, but now they're modified for even better performance.
Like silk, what's it used for now beyond sutures?
Oh, lots. It's low inflammation, good mechanical properties, permeability. It's used in wound dressing, sure, but also nerve guidance, conduits, tubes to help nerves regrow, and scaffolds for bone and cartilage regeneration.
And chitosan from shellfish.
Right. It's naturally antimicrobial and hemostatic, helps stop bleeding. So great for hemostatic dressings, tissue engineering scaffolds, bone cartilage work, even drug delivery.
And carboxymethyl cellulose.
From plant cellulose, valued for being readily available and very biocompatible. Common in wound dressings, helps keep wounds moist, and used in drug delivery formulations too.
And these natural polymers, they often get modified.
Yes, to enhance specific properties, maybe plasma treatment to make cells stick better, or adding metallic nanoparticles for antibacterial effect.
And how are the actual implant structures made? Still weaving and knitting.
Sometimes, yes, often combined with newer methods like electrospinning. You can create complex 3D structures that way, like artificial vascular grafts, blood vessels.
So applying this in tissue engineering, what are some examples? The review mentioned PLLA stents.
Yes, polylactic acid stents. Developed as a biodegradable alternative to metal stents for narrowed coronary arteries, initial human trial results were quite promising.
And artificial arteries.
Research into silk, fibro, and polyurethane composites for small diameter ones, trying to improve on existing options, especially for those smaller vessels.
What about heart valves?
There's work on bioprosthetic valves coated with a polyacrylamide hyaluronic acid hydrogel. Preclinical tests showed good biocompatibility. They resisted calcification and had the right mechanical properties, a potential alternative down the line.
And that vena cava filter prototype, that sounded interesting.
It is, made of nitinol, that shape memory alloy, and PTFE. Designed to overcome problems with current filters that stop clots going to the lungs, this textile-based one effectively trapped clots in tests. Could be a safer option.
And for joining blood vessels, vascular anastomosis.
Products like Dacron grafts and patches are common. Often knitted Dacron, sometimes with collagen added to reduce porosity, or polyester with collagen. Key advantages are they're ready to implant and don't leak easily.
Okay. What about wound care, moving beyond basic bandages?
Big shift there. From traditional wool or cotton to advanced textile structures. They offer high surface area, more flexibility. Electrospinning is common for making the fibers, often using natural polymers like chitosan or alginate from seaweed.
Are there commercial examples?
Yes, commercial hemostatic and wound care products based on chitosan and alginate exist. And there are studies comparing different advanced dressings like Chitoflex, QuickClot, CLOX against standard gauze to see which stops bleeding best in different situations.
Right, evidence-based choices. And skin regeneration. Scaffolds for that.
Yes, bilayered scaffolds, maybe a PLGA mesh base with a collagen chitosan layer, sometimes boosted with polyurethane. They've shown better wound contraction and tissue formation than some commercial options. Pore size seems important too, around 100 microns. Seems optimal for dermal scaffolds.
Even sutures are getting an upgrade.
Seems so. Research on yarn made from bacterial cellulose nanocrystals and regenerated chitin showed better strength, biodegradability, and good wound healing without adverse effects in studies.
Are there companies specializing in just biomedical textiles?
Oh yes, like Confluent Company mentioned in the review. They make textiles for orthopedics, cardiovascular uses, tissue engineering. It's a specialized field.
Nerve repair seems like a big challenge. What about conduits for that?
Nerve guidance conduits need to be flexible, permeable for nutrients, but stable. Commercial ones exist, like Neuregen and NeuroRep-TM, often made from collagen.
And cartilage, famously difficult to repair.
Very. Chitosan is seen as promising, and there was that amazing example of engineering a 3D ear-shaped cartilage structure using gelatin polypepperlactone electrospun membranes.
An actual ear shape.
Yes, and it held its shape well both in lab culture and when implanted in vivo. Really impressive.
What about ligaments, like ACLs?
Hybrid pet silk ligaments were tested in dogs. They showed better ligamentization, new tissue formation, and regeneration compared to peat alone. Suggests potential for improving human ACL repairs.
So for all these tissue engineering scaffolds, what's the ideal?
The review stresses mimicking the natural extracellular matrix. Biocompatibility, yes, but also the right mechanical support for cells to grow and form tissue. Fibers and tubes help provide structure for both soft and hard tissue repair.
Any downsides or concerns?
While outcomes are improving, there are considerations about the uniformity of nanoscale components and making sure any agents used, like nanoparticles, aren't toxic.
And antimicrobial properties are becoming more important.
Hugely important, especially with antimicrobial resistance rising. So incorporating antimicrobial agents into textiles for wound care, PPE, even implants is growing. The key is finding agents that are effective but non-toxic to us.
Okay, one last example from that section. An implantable patch with nanoparticles.
Right, a localized drug delivery patch. This one had photoluminescent nanoparticles and a photothermal fibrous matrix. The idea was enhanced cell uptake and targeted cancer cell killing. You could trigger drug release using near-infrared light from outside the body.
Very targeted, very clever.
It holds a lot of promise.
So, looking ahead for implants and regenerative medicine, what's the big picture? Beyond just biocompatibility.
Definitely moving towards active regeneration and bioactivity, making the implant itself encourage healing. And textile structures often offer better mechanical properties than, say, gels alone, which is crucial for implants that bear weight or stress.
And more complex structures. You mentioned 4D printing.
Yes, creating 3D structures that can change shape or function over time in response to bodily cues, that's 4D, and developing smart devices generally that sense and respond.
So multifunctional textiles, doing several jobs at once.
Exactly. Antibacterial, promoting cell adhesion, biocompatible, actively regenerating tissue all in one material. We're seeing things like RGD peptides added to help cells attach, or antibiotics like doxycycline embedded in nanofibers for wound healing.
Understanding how cells interact with these is key then.
Absolutely crucial for designing truly cell-regenerating structures. How do cells respond to the fiber's shape, size, chemistry?
And manufacturing, getting better at making these complex things.
Yes, combining and refining textile techniques plus big advances in additive manufacturing. Things like one-step 3D printing using computed axial lithography, allowing for faster creation of complex frameworks, and 4D printing's potential for smart devices is immense.
Are we looking beyond the usual materials too? New sources?
Definitely. Research into alternative natural fibers, especially plant-based ones like palm fibers, showing good cell growth and mechanical properties. Even things like sisal and coconut fibers are being looked at for sutures, maybe reducing surgical infections. Needs more research, though.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it's clear biotextiles have enormous potential across the board. Drug delivery, implants, regenerative medicine.
Absolutely. It's a really powerful convergence, isn't it? Textile science, medicine, material science, all pushing healthcare innovation forward.
It really makes you wonder, as these technologies keep advancing so rapidly, how fundamentally might they change healthcare? how we interact with treatments in the future.
Or even, consider the possibilities if the materials we wear or the implants we have could actively work with our bodies to keep us healthy or help us heal.
That's a really provocative thought to end on. Some fascinating possibilities ahead. Thank you for diving deep with us into this amazing field.